episode of the IC Lounge is sponsored in part by the Montgomery County Probate Court. From wills and estates to vehicle registration, business licenses, and elections, the Montgomery County Probate Court is committed to serving the citizens of Montgomery County with courtesy and efficiency, and to protect the rights and liberties of all who appear before the court. For more information about the Montgomery County Probate Court and its services, visit montgomeryprobatecourtal.gov or call 334-832-1240. Want to transform your workplace environment? Imperial Consulting Services Group collaborates with organizations of any size to build diverse, inclusive, tech-driven workplaces through fostering responsible leadership and cultivating engaged employees. We offer DEI and belonging consulting and training, strategic planning, and professional, organizational, and design services. Put our proven strategies to work for you. Schedule your appointment today at imperialcsg.com.
Hello and welcome to the IC Lounge, where we embrace the diversity of conversation. I'm your host, Angela Washington, and today we have a very important episode lined up for you. We will be discussing mental health and support services that are available in our community for those who need them. Then we'll switch gears to talk about mortgage fraud, what to look out for, and how homeowners can protect themselves. Joining me today is a distinguished guest. We have Montgomery County Probate Judge, J.C. Love, who has been a champion for mental health awareness and a key figure in the REAACT program, which combats mortgage fraud. He serves as the judge of the Montgomery County Probate Court, where he has made significant contributions to our community. He's a native of Montgomery, Alabama. Judge Love began his legal career in Atlanta before returning to his hometown. His dedication to public service is evident through his various roles and community involvement. Welcome, Judge Love.
Thank you so much for having me on, and I'm glad to really be a part of this conversation, really talking about two important issues here, mental health as well as mortgage fraud, which is becoming a more and more of a hot button issue nationwide.
Absolutely. Well, let's kick it right off. Could you explain your role as a probate judge and how it intersects with mental health support?
Well, first I'll tell you a little bit about the probate court.
Okay.
I think when you think about our office, people really just focus on the probate court when you're dealing with the wills and administrations. But when you're really talking about many of the different facets of adult life here in Montgomery County, you'll find that my office touches it. When you deal with the probate court, so when we deal with the wills, those people who have a document saying how they want their assets to be distributed upon their death, the administrations with those individuals that didn't leave a will and their assets are distributed according to the Alabama laws of intestacy, adoptions, name changes, eminent domain, and involuntary mental health commitments where we deal with mental health. We deal on the court side. But we also deal with marriage and the state business license issued through our Marriage and Business License Division, tag and driver's license or driver's license renewals and registration of vehicles, elections, records and recording, having to file historical document deeds, mortgages, military discharge documents, the county archives. So we touch so many different various facets of life, but we really deal with mental health through the involuntary mental health commitments.
Sounds like you have a very busy office. You manage quite a bit there. I love it. So, well, let's ask this question. How does the judiciary support individuals with mental health issues, and what more can be done?
Well, one of the things I've really tried to do since I've really been in office is really find ways that we can really be more of a partner with CareStar, used to be Montgomery Area Mental Health, about really being able to try to assist what they do, as well as being direct families to resources. So we're really happy back in 2022 when we were able to get the county commission to fund a mental health therapist position. So we've got a dedicated therapist that's on staff who, when calls come in from residents about, having a loved one they need to try to get help for, or needing to get someone assessed, or if someone comes across someone who may be undergoing mental health crisis in the public and need to get them assessed and evaluated, then we have that therapist to go out and conduct those assessments and do those evaluations and petition them as necessary. But we've also been really trying to work to get more involved and really trying to help remove the stigma around mental health, because there's still a stigma around it, and really trying to let people know that there's nothing wrong with you needing help and where can they go for help. And so that's really been a big part of what we've really been focused on from the mental health side.
Very good. Well, can you share any specific cases where mental health considerations significantly impacted the legal outcomes? Is it something you can share, where someone may have had those mental health issues and it affected any rendering of decisions of the court?
Well, a lot of times we'll deal with people who may be undergoing mental health issues or having diminished capacity. Sometimes when you're dealing with having to get a guardian conservator appointed for someone. So a conservatorship, if you need someone to be appointed to handle someone's kind of financial affairs, and then the guardianship side when you need someone to really go ahead and make health and wellness and day-to-day decisions over their life. And a lot of times what I tell groups, particularly that you have to really be proactive with it, because we find a lot of folks will come to me and say, hey, Judge, I've got a family member that may have schizophrenia, or they may have bipolar, or they may have Alzheimer's or dementia in a state of diminished capacity. And can I do a power of attorney? What can I do to try to get them help and treatment? And I always say at that point in time, when there's been a medical diagnosis, it's better to err on the side of caution and come and do a conservatorship or guardianship. Because if you proceed with trying to get a power of attorney, get someone to execute one when there's been a medical determination that they lack, capacity, have diminished capacity, then it leads to a question of deciding that on that particular date, at that particular time, were they lucid enough to knowingly and intelligently enter into that document. So that's where it comes into play for the most part. But we also deal with it on the involuntary mental health commitments, because those people come with us, and we've seen an increased number of cases, particularly in the middle and post-COVID, from people who had never had any mental health issues. Some of the added stress of life and the pressures that came along with it, the isolation, triggered some forms of psychosis with them, and so in needing for us to sometimes step in and being able to get them the help they need. And so sometimes we're that immediate stopgap by being able to get them the help they need through a commitment. But if it's something that may be longer term, we find that they're coming back more and more often and needing to be committed because they're not taking the meds, or they need a longer term placement. Then we encourage them to go and possibly look at getting a guardianship over that person, so that you can be able to direct them to a longer term care facility versus what we can provide through an involuntary commitment.
So could you share with the listeners how easy or how hard is it to get that? Is the process, is it rigorous? Is it something that they can do relatively easy? Or, does it require a lot of documentation? When you have people who have a number of episodes before you can get that done, some people just aren't mentally capable, and, just how involved is it to get that done through your court? Well,
generally when when someone needs to be committed, then there's an assessment. So either my mental health therapist, or someone from CareStar will go and meet with the individual that they're looking at being petitioned. We'll go ahead and then make a recommendation about, one, because the standard is, are they a threat to themselves or others?
Gotcha.
And if they meet that threshold, then we file a petition and try to get them a bed placement first. So by the time it gets to me, because they have to have a hearing within 72 hours.
Okay.
So they'll go assess them, and if so, then petition be filed. They'll be picked up, taken to a mental health facility to be diagnosed and triaged. So they make an initial recommendation about whether or not they believe that person should be committed on an inpatient basis, or on an outpatient basis, or they find that they don't feel they need to be, committed. And then you also find in this day and age that we're having people coming in with dual diagnosis. There's some substance abuse issues in conjunction with the mental health. And so Prior to COVID, it used to be an issue where if it was one more than the other, then if you could separate it, then all right, if it's substance abuse, then you've got to go someplace else to receive treatment. But now, because it seems to be so intertwined and you can't really tell whether or not the mental health is triggering the substance abuse or the substance abuse is triggering the psychosis, that we're generally having to treat them both together.
Gotcha.
And then we have a hearing, and they're appointing a guardian ad litem, and that's an attorney who represents them, who also goes and meets with them, and they make a recommendation to the court whether or not they agree with their treatment plan. And then there's an attorney that represents the petitioner.
Gotcha.
And so we have a full-blown hearing if necessary to take witness testimony. And then the court makes a determination about whether or not we should commit them on an inpatient or outpatient basis.
So you basically have to go through a process before you get to that, to render that decision, to allow someone to make, to become a guardian over them, a conservatorship for them, right?
You know, that's just in the involuntary mental health commitment. If you have someone who has diminished capacity and needs someone to look after them, particularly if you have a child that once they attain the age of majority, then, you know, they're without anything saying that they have a diminished capacity, then, you know, the banks, their medical providers, they're not going to share that information with you. So that is pretty much the same kind of process. Well, once you file your petition, they still get appointed a guardian ad litem who's the proposed ward, what we call them, their attorney. There is a court representative who gets appointed to kind of do a clinical assessment to see, one, whether or not they have diminished capacity, they need conservator or guardian, and whether or not the person who's petitioning should be the best person to act in that capacity.
That's right.
And then we also have a doctor who also does an assessment to see whether or not they believe that they have a diminished capacity. And so those are three different individuals, and that's when I tell somebody that particularly when you're dealing with cognitive decline, when you have someone who may be in the beginning stages of dementia, Alzheimer's, to be more proactive.
That's right.
And to go ahead and maybe get a power of attorney in place first before you have that medical diagnosis, because the question then has been decided that they don't lack capacity. And like I said, it comes down to the court have to decide that on this date, at this particular time, were they and when their periods of being lucid to really understand and comprehend what it is they're doing, which makes it very much harder to really try to piece that together based upon, you know, people being proactive, doing it really at the onset. But also you save yourself the expense because I said you got a physician who has a bill that has to be paid, the court representative, and you've got an attorney functioning as a guardian ad litem that also has to be paid. So you're looking at taking your costs up to, you know, sometimes, you know, $2,500 to $3,000-$4,000 depending on how detailed it is.
And that's a question I have coming up for you. But at this moment, can you provide any resources that's available to individuals in Montgomery who need mental health services? Is there, do we have anyone else outside of CareStar that can aid these individuals or families?
Well, you have Crossbridge. They're operated by Baptist Hospital, and they have a mental health facility. And so if you're able to go, that you can go ahead and go there, and they'll also provide you treatment services there. But CareStar is pretty much the big umbrella because they are kind of operating in the county to provide mental health services here in Montgomery County and also get resources from the state. So here locally, we have the national 988 number. So if anyone's in need of mental health services, you can call 24 hours, 7 days a week, and there's a live person that operated. If you need to talk to someone, there's someone there you can talk to. They'll also direct you towards resources. We also have the Crisis Diversion Center off of Carmichael Drive that's open 24 hours, 7 days a week, no cost whatsoever. But it is a voluntary facility. So if you have a loved one who needs help and treatment, then they voluntarily have to go to be signed to make the decision that they want to go and have treatment. One of the things we've been working with for a couple of years have been trying to get mental health, community mental health officers on the street. And those are people appointed by the probate judge who have been working with the sheriff's department for the county and getting officers trained with the city to be that person that when individuals call and say they have a loved one who may be in the midst of a crisis, or if any of our first responders or members of the public encounter someone just out on the streets or out in the community, that they can go and they call 911. They're the individuals who are going to respond to the scene because they've undergone the crisis intervention training. I know some people have seen those videos where someone has made a call for the police to take a loved one to the hospital, and it's ended somewhat tragically. And so we're really working to make sure we have positive outcomes, that we can go ahead and make sure that when you make that call, trying to get a loved one transported to the hospital, or when an officer comes across a member of the public, that they are appropriately trained. They know how to deal with that individual. They know how to de-escalate the situation, particularly if they're carrying a knife or a gun. They get them to talk it down so we can get them the help they need.
That's right. That's right. Well, anything else you may want to share with us in regards to mental health, or any, like I asked earlier, any cases or things that you, or is that outside of the scope?
I think, a lot of what I tell anybody is to not be afraid to go ahead and seek help. We've been helped recently with a lot of celebrities who've come out, the Naomi Osakas, who've really come and talked about their struggles with it. And so anytime you have celebrities and people who you see it performing at a high level, and they're dealing with the issues, sometimes dealing with the stresses of life and the pressures of fame, because we think that they have everything, they've got the money, they've got the fame, they don't have any issues. And that lets us see that they're not much different from us.
That's right.
And so that is one of the things we're really trying to do, is really encourage people to seek help, if you need it, because, life is stressful.
It is.
You add financial instability in it, you add COVID in it, you add inflation in it, you add family stresses, work stresses, then, a lot of times we're seeing with, a lot of these mental health crises, just people deal with the stresses of life very differently. And, trying to be proactive, because a lot of times the calls we'll get from families will be, I've got a loved one who is off their medication, I'm afraid they're going to kill me.
Right.
One of the things that we've really been experiencing, particularly after the state decided to close the state mental health hospitals, has been a shortage of beds. And really trying to go ahead and get the people that need it, the help that they need as quickly as they need it. And so anytime you can be proactive, and when you start seeing them maybe not take their medication, to begin calling then, just because we don't want you to be living in a state of fear and being worried that something's going to happen to you before we can go ahead and get your loved one the help that they need. So the more proactive you can be, it eases the pressure off of us to try to find some place and possibly jump you in front of someone else. But also doesn't put you in that whole threat of being in a position where they're completely off the medicine. There's none of it no longer in their system, and now they're completely manic, or they're completely in and having a mental health episode.
To get them stable.
To get them stable as quickly as possible.
Good deal. Well, I appreciate all the great work that you do in our community. I'm very grateful for you having such an open conversation. Whenever I see you, it's always like that. So I appreciate that. This is a topic that does not get talked about much. A lot of people like to shy away from it and don't want to engage. But I think it's very meaningful, and I'm very appreciative that you made an appearance here on our show to talk about it. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a little brief break, and we're going to come back and talk to you about mortgage fraud through the REAACT program that you all have in your office as well.
All right, fine.
Got a story, community program, or event you'd like to share? You can be our guest on the IC Lounge. We also offer sponsorship opportunities that are designed to reach the customers you want most. Email us at info@icdiversity.com or call 334-625-6773.
Property fraud is one of the fastest growing areas of fraud in the country today.
REAACT is designed to protect your property and to give you peace of mind. By signing up, you'll receive an email notification if a document is filed against your property.
This program is a game changer. It has the potential to prevent fraud and protect countless homeowners throughout Montgomery County.
Protect your home with REAACT. Sign up today.
Want to transform your workplace environment? Imperial Consulting Services Group collaborates with organizations of any size to build diverse, inclusive, tech-driven workplaces through fostering responsible leadership and cultivating engaged employees. We offer DEI and belonging consulting and training, strategic planning, and professional, organizational, and design services. Put our proven strategies to work for you. Schedule your appointment today at imperialcsg.com.
Welcome back to the IC Lounge, where we're discussing mortgage fraud, which is on the rise in communities all across the country. We will now talk more about the REAACT program with Judge J.C. Love. Can you tell us more about the REAACT program?
Yes, so REACT is a program that we started last year to really try to stem this property title fraud that we've seen becoming more and more of a problem nationwide. It's something that even statewide, some other probate judges here in the state have been talking about and saying that we've seen more and more instances of people trying to file these fraudulent deeds to take ownership of people's properties. So REACT simply stands for our Real Estate Activity Alert and Contact Tool Program. It is really designed to be an alert system to alert residents whenever any type of real estate document or deed is filed against their property. Because one of the things you find with property title fraud is many people don't find out they've been a victim until much later down the road. Either they're trying to sell or refinance and the title company comes back and saying that there's an issue with the title, saying they don't own their property. Some people are a bit more proactive and may realize that I didn't get my property tax notice, and they call and find out that it's going to another location and that someone has taken ownership of their property, or you get a letter from a mortgage company saying they're going to foreclose on your property for a mortgage you didn't know that you didn't know that you had. And so we're really trying to be more proactive and really combat it, because if you went ahead and Google the property title fraud, you would see how much of a problem it is nationwide.
And you really wouldn't think, well, maybe that's because of my ignorance, but you really wouldn't think that's a thing. Or if I myself am a homeowner, did not sign something over and then later discovered that whatever has happened and then I no longer have possession of my home. I mean, it just seems so weird that we even have to have a program such as this. Can you share a story where you have encountered that, where someone unknowingly lost their home or their mortgage?
Well, yes. You know, right before we launched the program, a woman called us and said that she had been a victim of property title fraud. That her father had left her a home. He had died the previous year. That she had gone through her papers, realized she hadn't got the property tax notice, and decided to call the revenue department and found out that the notice was going to a different department, going to a different individual. And then she came to our real estate office and looked up the property address and seen that someone had filed a fraudulent deed. So it's easy just like that, because one of the things you have in Alabama is that deeds don't have to be notarized. All you need is the person's name who purportedly owns the property, a property description of the property, and 2 witness signatures. You don't even have to show ID at the time that you're filing. And so that's one of the things that people don't realize, is that everyone's deed is public record. So people can look up who owns your home, owns your property by the address, or if they know your name. And all the information that the thieves know they need is right there at their fingertip. They know who's the name on the deed that owns the property. They have the property description language that, you know, that's the 30 feet northwest turn at this pin, another 122 feet. So that language there. And if you present it having the name of the people that own it, have the property description language signed by having signatures of the people who are purportedly own it, and 2 witness signatures, then my office and any probate office and any real estate office throughout the country is going to have to record it.
So would you say, is that the primary challenge your office is facing, being that that document is not a notarized document? Is there something that can be done to make that a more stringent process for someone to just take possession of your deed like that?
Well, you know, one of the things I've really tried to do is be proactive and try to really, show our Secretary of State and Attorney General how important of an issue it is and how big it is in other states. And then let us go ahead and try to find some ways to be more proactive. And so other states that are similar to Alabama have gone and said, all right, let's require all deeds be notarized. So at least you have another layer there with someone, if they're doing the job, is supposed to check and verify IDs. They're also, even showing IDs at the time of filing documents. Because one of these things, one issue with this type of fraud is you're almost victimized twice. One, you're victimized because you had your property stolen, and once it's gone, it's not as simple as being come down to the office and showing that your signature has been forged and it's a fraudulent instrument. Like, we can only take it out of our records with a court order from a circuit court judge. And so absent that, it's in the property record, so it's in the chain of title. Because that's been some of the things when I've talked to different groups saying, well, can I just leave it there? So no, you can't sell, you can't borrow against it, you can't transfer it to anyone because you don't technically own the property. It's showing that this other deed that you've transferred your ownership over to someone else.
Right.
And so that's the bad part about it, that you may have to spend, a few $1,000s to fully get title to your property back. And so what we're really trying to do is really let people know as soon as it happens. So under the program, if you go to our website, it's www.reactnow.com. It's going to ask you to input your name, email address. It's going to send you a confirmation email, and once you go ahead and click confirm, then you're enrolled.
Good. No fee, no cost.
No fee at all. It's free. It's free but it's only for Montgomery County residents. We often get calls from residents in other counties saying, can I sign up for it? But no, at this point in time, it's only for residents here in Montgomery County.
That's a good thing.
But it does give you a notification within 24 hours. So you're going to get an email saying you're receiving this because there's been some type of real estate deed or document that's been filed against your property, and also giving you a copy of what's been filed. So you can see immediately what's been filed. And so you can alert the authorities, keep them from being able to take any other action to be able to try to mortgage it, and hopefully be able to catch the people that are doing this.
Well, let me ask you this, Judge. As extensive as the closing process for homes,
Yes.
how is it when it comes to the deed piece? It's the most simplistic process. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah.
And with that being said, and I heard what you said about other states and what they're doing, but what can be done to make that tighter? Do we have a plan in place for the near future to try to make it a little bit more secure? I know the REACT program is there, and we're appreciative of it, a free service that our county is providing. But like I said, when you close, you go through an act of Congress, a table full of papers, and you get your deed, and it doesn't even have to be notarized. Why is that?
Well, you're finding out this type of fraud has really outpaced where the law is.
Gotcha.
And so it's come up so, fast, been so prevalent that it's really outpaced the protections that the law used to have.
There
and
you
so,
go. We got to catch up.
You're looking at, and many of these statutes were passed, 40, 50, 60 years ago and hadn't been updated. And so no one ever thought that this would be a type of fraud where someone would go ahead and find this gap in the law and start stealing people's properties. But it's something that's becoming more and more commonplace. I think one of the more recent heartbreaking stories was of like a 70-year-old man over in the Atlanta area that got arrested by a deputy because he refused to leave his house. That he had been a victim of this, that someone had filed a fraudulent deed, someone who had done it then went and sold it to someone else who took a mortgage out on it. The mortgage wasn't paid. They received the mortgage notices saying that the home was going to be foreclosed, ignored it because they're like, our home's paid for. What's this? This is just some kind of other kind of fraud going out. Their home was sold on the courthouse steps. Someone else bought it, and they came to take possession of the house. And they went and tried to put him out, and he refused to leave, and so the deputies had to arrest him.
Oh, that's so sad.
But those are the type of stories that are going on. Those are the type of things that are really happening. And so many people...
I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry.
I just want to know, there's nothing we can do to help people like that when they have paid for their homes, may have been paid for 20 plus years, and somebody can just take it from them. There's no protection.
Or those are the homes that they want. They're going to look for the homes that are paid for, because generally if you have a mortgage, your mortgage companies, they have services that are going to be able to catch it if anything's filed to try to take priority over what it is they have. And they're going to step in and question and challenge and say, where's this mortgage coming from? Trying to take priority over this mortgage that I have that hadn't been paid for. So you have a little fail-safe when your home's not paid for, but they're literally looking at these homes that one that may not have a mortgage, these homes that are heir property that are owned by families that no one may be in.
Right.
Because you have so many people now trying to come in the state. You may get those letters saying, well, we buy houses for cash. You want to buy your house.
Right.
And they can go
Okay.
be able to take that fraudulent deed, file it, be able to sell it to someone. Even if the mortgage company is coming in, all they're going to see is on this date and time, JC transferred his home over to John Doe,
Wow.
who now is selling it to, the person who's trying to get the mortgage. And so it's in the chain of title. There's no issues that have been propped up upon it. So it's going to be clear to close in regards to the title. And before you know it, your home's been sold, someone else is claiming ownership, and then you've got to go through this lengthy process to try to go and get your home back. And so that may be something else we look at, how to streamline this process for homeowners. But we've been trying to bring it to the consciousness of the Attorney General, the Secretary of State, as well as some of our local legislative leaders to begin trying to discuss and see what type of solutions we may be able to put forward when the session opens next year.
Gotcha.
To try to add some more protections for people.
So what would you tell people in regards to that? Some things that they can do in addition to going to, www.reactnow.com.
Yes, REACT with 2 A's, REAACT now.com.
To register for that program, what are some other things they can do to protect themselves?
Well, there's nothing against you coming down to Records and Recording Division, 101 South Lawrence Street, in the basement of the building, and going and checking your deed just to have that peace of mind before you sign up, just to make sure that nothing's been filed, that you're not been a victim prior to you signing up for the program. But if you really want to get the peace of mind, sign up for it to be able to be able to take advantage of that.
I myself need to sign up today.
Oh yes, because people may have seen the commercials, LifeLock, and that's a paid service that really charges you to monitor our records, because we're the only department here in Montgomery County and just throughout the state. The probate courts monitor, have control over the real estate records. So we're the only office that has the authority to manage those records. So they're really just, you're paying for them to manage our record database when you can sign up for a free program yourself.
And I know you manage Montgomery, but do you know of any plans or talk of extending that type of service in the surrounding area? I'm sure this is going to pique the interest of others, because even when I mention it to people, they're like, I didn't know we had that. I'm like, yeah, it's a thing. So is there something that we can do, or is there something coming up to help those in the surrounding area?
Well, as we tell residents that it's within the purview of each county's probate judge on whether or not to bring a REACT program there. So there's nothing that's been mandated statewide for us to have it. That may be something that may come down. I think I've heard that Macon County is moving on with it. I know Elmore, I believe, Talcott County. So counties are now seeing the benefit of it.
Right.
And they're getting a lot of pushback from their residents and not have it to be able to have it. I know Madison County has a program, Mobile and Jefferson County. So it's something that's continuing to grow and expand. So I think probably in the next 3 years, you'll probably have something statewide, because it's a no-brainer. Why not would you not offer a free program to help be able to give your residents peace of mind to try to combat this? But I think the reception of it has been great, and really trying to work to get more protections in. And now it's just really an alert system. It'll let you know when you've been a victim, but we really want to work to try to make it harder for you being a victim.
Right, exactly. Good deal. Well, Judge, I really appreciate you coming on today and talking to us in regards to these very important topics, mortgage fraud, and as well as mental health. Like I said, it's something that people aren't fully aware of, and it's very, I didn't know it was such a prevalent thing or something that was going on, that people were actually victims of that it was so easy to come and take possession of someone's property, especially older people who have such pride in their homes and stuff, and to have those things taken from them. My heart just goes out to the older gentlemen in Georgia, or even those here that we have had, you have had cases with that. It just saddens me that people are so cruel, and they put all that energy into being criminals and taking things that do not belong to them. So I am very appreciative and thankful to you for taking the time to come on my show today and share with my listeners about what your office does and how you try to champion and be a supporter of what we need here. And I really appreciate that.
Well, thank you for giving me an avenue to promote what it is that we do
Absolutely.
and bring more attention to mental health as well as property fraud to get more people to take advantage of it through our REAACT program.
Yes, sir.
So thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And thank you for tuning in to the IC Lounge. If you or someone you know is dealing with a mental health crisis and needs support, you can contact the CareStar, the new home for the Montgomery Mental Health Authority, at 800-408-4197. If you believe you are a victim of mortgage fraud, you can find more information, contact the Probate Court's county records and recording office at 334-832-1237. All these resources will be listed on our website at www.imperialcsg.com. Until next time, have a good one.
Promotional consideration is provided by the following sponsors. House of Greek, specializing in custom Greek and collegiate apparel, located in the heart of Midtown Montgomery at 2001 Mulberry Street. For more information, call 334-593-2738. Pink Velvet Accessories and more, where our passion for fashion and commitment to customer satisfaction leaves our customers empowered, confident, and inspired. For more information, visit the store at 2842 Zelda Road or call 334-593-1330. And Hope Psychiatric Consultants, where we do therapy differently. For more information, visit virtual-hope.com or call 334-593-2758.
Property fraud is one of the fastest growing areas of fraud in the country today.
REAACT is designed to protect your property and to give you peace of mind. By signing up, you'll receive an email notification if a document is filed against your property.
This program is a game changer. It has the potential to prevent fraud and protect countless homeowners throughout Montgomery County.
Protect your home with REAACT. Sign up today.